The photograph, a family secret unearthed. 1. The package. It all started with a package, a small brown parcel, neatly wrapped with no return address. It arrived at my apartment on a Tuesday morning, sitting innocently on the stoop as though it belonged there. I hadn't ordered anything, so naturally I assumed it was a mistake. But then I noticed the name on the label. Matthew R. Doyle, my name. I brought it inside, turning it over in my hands. There was no postmark, no indication of where it had come from. Just my name, written in an old-fashioned cursive script. I opened it cautiously, half expecting a prank or a mistake. Inside was a single object, an old photograph, black and white, of two people standing in front of a gas station. One man looked vaguely familiar, middle-aged with sharp features and a stoic expression. The other was younger, smiling broadly, wearing a mechanic's uniform. The photo was dated on the back, June 14th, 1972. Beneath the photo was a slip of paper with a single sentence, "Find out what really happened." For the rest of the day, I couldn't concentrate. My thoughts were consumed by the photograph and the cryptic note. Who had sent it and why? And what exactly was I supposed to uncover? 2. The photograph. At first, I thought it was some kind of joke, a weird, elaborate prank orchestrated by one of my friends, but no one I called claimed responsibility. "A mystery package?" my coworker Lisa had said, laughing. "Sounds like a movie plot." But I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it. The older man in the photo gnawed at my memory. I felt like I'd seen him before, but I couldn't place where. After hours of staring at the image, I flipped it over again and noticed something I'd missed before. There was a faint indentation beneath the date, like someone had pressed a pen into the paper without ink. I grabbed a pencil and shaded over the back of the photo, revealing a faint address. 126 Oak Ridge Lane. My heart skipped a beat. Someone wanted me to find this, and now I had a destination. 3. The Visit Oak Ridge Lane was in a small town about 2 hours outside the city. The drive was uneventful, but as I approached the address, unease settled over me. The house was old, the kind of place that had seen better days. The porch sagged, the paint peeled, and the yard was overgrown with weeds. It looked abandoned. I knocked anyway, and to my surprise, the door creaked open under the weight of my hand. "Hello?" I called out, stepping inside. The air smelled of dust and mildew. Furniture was covered in sheets, and the place looked like no one had lived there in years. In the living room, I found a box of old papers and photographs. Flipping through them, I started to piece together a story. The house had belonged to a man named Robert Doyle. My last name. I sifted through the photographs, and my breath caught when I found another copy of the photo I had received. But this one had something mine didn't. A name scrawled across the back in faded ink. Daniel Carter. 4. The connection. Robert Doyle was my father's uncle, a man I'd never met, someone my family never talked about. As I sifted through the box, I found more photos of him, including one that matched the picture I'd received. He stood in front of the same gas station, this time alone, with a blank look on his face. Beneath it was an old newspaper clipping, yellowed with age. The headline read, "Local mechanic found dead in mysterious circumstances." The article was brief, offering few details. The younger man in the photograph, a mechanic named Daniel Carter, had been found dead behind the gas station in 1972. No suspects were ever named, and the case went cold. The gas station, it turned out, had been owned by Robert Doyle. I stared at the headline, trying to process it. My great-uncle had been tied to a murder? Why had no one in my family ever mentioned this? And why had someone sent me this photo now, decades later? 5. The inquiry. My curiosity became an obsession. I visited the town library, digging through archives for anything related to the case. I found another article, this one published a few months after Daniel Carter's death. It reported that Robert Doyle had abruptly sold the gas station and left town, never to return. The librarian, an older woman with sharp eyes, noticed my interest. "That was a sad story," she said. "They never solved it, you know. But there were rumors." "What kind of rumors?" I asked, leaning in closer. She leaned in conspiratorially. Some people said Robert Doyle had something to do with it. Others said he was protecting someone, but no one ever proved anything. Her words sent a chill down my spine. If Robert had been protecting someone, who could it have been? And why would he abandon his life and disappear instead of clearing his name? 6. The stranger. As I left the library, a man approached me. He was in his 60s with a weathered face and piercing eyes. "You're poking around where you shouldn't," he said. "Some things are better left buried." "Who are you?" I asked, taken aback by his sudden appearance. "Someone who knows the truth," he replied. "But if you're looking for answers, you're asking the wrong questions." He handed me a piece of paper and walked away before I could respond. The paper had a name and phone number: Margaret Carter. My pulse quickened. The last name matched the mechanic in the photograph. 7. The phone call. Margaret Carter turned out to be Daniel's younger sister. She lived in a retirement home a few towns over. When I called her, she was hesitant at first but agreed to meet me. "Daniel was a good man," she said, her voice trembling with age. "He didn't have an enemy in the world. But after he died, everything fell apart. My parents never recovered." I showed her the photograph. Tears welled up in her eyes. "That's the last picture we have of him," she said. "Where did you get it?" "Someone sent it to me," I said. "Do you know anything about Robert Doyle?" She hesitated. "I always thought he knew more than he let on. But he wasn't a bad man. If he kept quiet, he had his reasons." Her words stayed with me. If Robert Doyle hadn't been a bad man, then what had he been hiding? 8. The breakthrough Margaret's words lingered with me. Why would Robert keep quiet? Was he guilty, or was he protecting someone? I decided to revisit the abandoned house, hoping to find more clues. In the attic, I discovered a hidden compartment in the floorboards. Inside was a diary, worn and faded. It belonged to Robert Doyle. The entries painted a picture of a man racked with guilt. He wrote about an argument with Daniel on the night of his death, but insisted he didn't kill him. The final entry read, "I've made my choice. I'll carry this secret to my grave." But it wasn't my hands that ended his life. 9. The revelation. The diary hinted at a third person, someone who had been at the gas station that night. It didn't name them but referred to a shadow that shouldn't have been there. I began to wonder if Daniel had uncovered something he shouldn't have, something bigger than either he or Robert. 10. The unexpected visitor. While I was going over my notes in a coffee shop, an older woman approached me. She introduced herself as Claire Watson, a former resident of the town. "I hear you've been asking about the Doyle case," she said. When I asked how she knew, she explained that she had been Daniel's girlfriend at the time. "He was worried about something," she said. "He told me he'd seen something he wasn't supposed to. Something about the gas station. But he wouldn't tell me more." Her words confirmed my suspicions. Whatever had happened that night was more than a simple argument gone wrong. 11. The shadow in the dark. Late one night, I decided to go back to the gas station's location, now a convenience store. The building had been renovated, but the layout was eerily similar. As I wandered near the back alley, I saw a man smoking in the shadows. When I asked him about the gas station's history, he froze. "You shouldn't be asking questions about that night," he muttered before quickly walking away. 12. The new lead feeling stuck, I went back to Margaret Carter. This time she handed me a letter Daniel had written but never sent. It was addressed to the police, detailing illegal activities at the gas station, smuggling and bribes. The letter ended abruptly with the words, "I have proof, meeting them tonight." 13. The confrontation. I tracked down Frank Mallory, a man Daniel mentioned in his letter, and accused him of involvement. He denied everything but grew visibly nervous. "You don't know what you're getting into," he snapped. 14. The final clue. In Robert's diary, I found one last entry. "The truth won't set me free, but maybe it can help someone else." It contained coordinates leading me to a hidden box buried behind the house. Inside was Daniel's proof. Photographs of smuggled goods and names of those involved, including powerful figures in the town. 15. The truth unveiled. With the evidence, I finally understood why Robert had fled. He had tried to protect Daniel but failed. The shadow in the story wasn't just one person. It was a network of corruption that led to Daniel's death. Robert, guilt-ridden, had chosen silence to protect himself. 16. The closure. I shared everything with Margaret. Though heartbroken, she thanked me for uncovering the truth. She said, "Daniel deserved this. Thank you for giving him a voice after all these years." 17. The letter. A week later, another package arrived at my door. Inside was a note. "You did what Robert couldn't. Thank you." It was unsigned. 18. The reflection. I drove past the gas station one last time, realizing that while some mysteries never fully unravel, uncovering the truth can bring peace to those left behind. Daniel Carter's story wasn't just a murder. It was a reminder of the importance of fighting for what's right. 19. The ripple effect. The evidence I found led to the reopening of Daniel's case. The authorities arrested Frank Mallory, uncovering more crimes tied to the gas station's past. Justice, though late, finally arrived. 20. The final thought. Looking back, I realized the story isn't just about Daniel or Robert. It's about the choices we make and the courage it takes to seek the truth. And as I close this chapter, I feel a sense of peace, knowing that even the smallest actions can make a difference in a story much larger than ourselves.